If you've been looking to replace the rear toe links on your Lotus Elise or Lotus Exige from the standard and quite frankly poorly designed OE links, then you've probably seen these toe links discussed. I've bought the Toyota set, which come with fixings to suit the steel hubs fitting on the later cars. This does have the advantage of requiring less parts and the kit is a little cheaper. I'm going to talk through what I'm doing and hopefully this will give you a good idea of how you might want to tackle this job. You could do this job on your driveway on some small ramps, but there's a few stages which might be quite tricky, mainly the drilling. Luckily we have the use of a lift, so it was off with the under trays and rear wheels and time to remove the old rear toe links. Spoiler, the underneath of this car has rust, but I swear it looks worse on camera. The car had upgraded toe links already, but one of them had play and this was an advisory on the MOT. I could have replaced them with the same kit from EliseParts.com, but I decided to take the plunge and try these Spitfire links in the hope they might be a little bit more robust. They claim to have a 3-year warranty on the rose joints, but as you can see the details page was written in 2016 and the parts have evolved a little over that time, so I'm not sure if that still stands or not. The rod is no longer 3 pieces and it's all machined into one part, and the brackets are ever so slightly different. It's probably about time Spitfire Engineering updated this page and the product photos just to correctly show the parts that you're going to get. I started by removing the inner and the outer bolts from the toe links, but we do have to move the caliper out of the way to punch out the old taper joint, so you could do the caliper first. I'll leave that up to you. I then removed the stainless brackets from the Elise Parts kit. The OE links don't have this bracket here, it just bolts onto the face of the subframe, so you won't need to do this step. Then simply pop off the locating washer with a screwdriver. Now it's time to tackle the tapered washer on the outside. You might be able to get this out easily, but as with most tapered joints it'll be pretty tight and most likely have some kind of corrosion. I f***ed around a little bit trying to punch it out whilst leaving the caliper in place, but this didn't work. If you undo and remove the top caliper bolt, you can swing the caliper out at the top, which gives you access to the taper joint at the bottom. She goes.
Good.
Let's see if it comes out.
Fucking, don't know what you're fucking worrying about.
Lovely stuff. I've highlighted the hole which we're trying to get to here, so this is shot from above inside the wheel arch looking down onto the hub. It's a good idea to clean out the tapers with some fine emery cloth or some other abrasive, just so you've got a nice contact surface. You should definitely get your alignment sorted after fitting these, but they do come at roughly the correct length, so you can kind of chuck them on the car and get it rolling somewhat in a straight line. If you're on your own, you might struggle with getting the nut started on the top of the outer bolt. There's not much room above that nut, so you might need to hold the link up with a tie wrap or some tape temporarily. Luckily I grabbed a passing hobo to lend me a hand. Just snug up the outer bolt. For the inner bolt, position the stainless anti-rotation spacer so it sits at the correct angle against the subframe. I used a bolt to get some leverage, just as some of the rose joints are really stiff. Place the bracket, or position the bracket, and insert the bolt, and just make sure you align the little top hat washer within the bracket correctly. Tighten the main bolt so the bracket is held in place, and just have a quick check to ensure everything is sitting where it should. You can see on the video a nice close-up of this. Now we've got that inner bolt just snugged up fairly tight, we can align the stainless brackets so it's straight to the subframe. We need to ensure this is in position as we're about to start drilling through the holes in this bracket with a 6mm drill bit. Once you're happy with the position, just tighten up the outer and the inner bolts again so we know everything is home. Time to grab your drill, 6mm drill bit, and drill through the bracket. It's a bit of a slog, especially if you don't have a new drill bit, but just keep at it, get it done. Now we've got our pilot holes drilled, we need to remove the bracket so we can open these up to 9mm. Time for the riv nuts. If you've used these before, probably skip this part, it's pretty obvious. If you've not, you're going to need a tool. You can either buy a cheap tool from Amazon for about 15 quid, you get a set of 6 different sizes, or you can buy some of the plier styles which are a bit more expensive, about 30 to 40 quid. I was quite limited on space, so I went for the smaller, kind of cheaper tool from Amazon. So I'll put a link in the description for those, and you can check those out. It's worth noting that once you've got the riv nut started, it will hold itself in place, but I tightened it until I felt more resistance. This seemed to work okay, but I've got no idea why I used a manual Allen key here instead of just sticking a bit in a ratchet. Honestly, I've got no idea. You're going to want to do this process for all 4 holes. Now it's time to replace the bracket and find out that you've drilled everything in the wrong place. Hopefully not. However, as the bolts are 6mm diameter and the holes in the bracket are 6mm, it basically leaves no wiggle room. So you will want to loosely fit the stainless bracket to the subframe and then insert the main bolt, ensuring the washers sit correctly. Basically hinge, this pin has to be exactly right. Tighten up the main bolt and then go around tightening the M6 bolts on the bracket. Now, once you're happy with where everything is sat, you want to tighten the inner bolt, the main bolt, to 65 Newton meters, and then the outer bolt to 75 Newton meters. The M6 bolts should be 9 Newton meters, but for this size, just use your inner torqueometer. And that's one side complete.
One side done.
Eat. And once you're all finished on that side, just do exactly the same on the other side. For me, this side was much easier because I didn't have the cat to contend with, so there was much more room around that area. And finally, replace the heat shield that goes over the top of the exhaust, or whatever's remaining of this heat shield in my case, and that is you, job done. Maybe a good idea at this point to just buy some clear protective spray. I used the Built Hamber UC, I think it's called, just to try and slow down that rust. Now this next bit might sound obvious, but I was going to say fit wheels and the undertrays, but actually just leave the undertrays off, because you're probably going to drive this down to the garage to get the alignment done, and it might be easier for them to do with the undertrays off. Certainly jacking the car up will be easier. And also to access the inner part of the toe link if required.